Pat, Victorians will still have to carry masks at all times.
That's right, Gabriella, and that's because Victorians will still have to wear their masks when they're indoors, while on public transport or while at the supermarket, for example, from midnight tonight. So effectively from tomorrow morning, the mask mandate is being altered, and those masks will no longer be required while outdoors in situations that you can socially distance yourself from others. So while walking down the street or while at the beach, for example, you'll still have to put them back on while you're indoors, as I mentioned earlier, or while you're outdoors and you can't socially distance. The Premier today using the example of going to Bunnings for a shop as an example of when to wear and when not to wear your mask.
If you go to Bunnings and you're in the store, you wear your mask. If you're in the car park, you don't have to wear your mask. But if you're queuing up for a sausage and you're with other people and you are simply not keeping your distance, you're part of a crowd, you need to put the mask on. Carry the mask with you. Common sense drives this.
That's just one aspect of restrictions being eased from midnight tonight. The Premier today announcing Victoria's next step out of lockdown, fulfilling all of those promises made 2 weeks ago and even going further in some circumstances. It is a fairly long list, but here's a brief rundown of what's changing in Victoria as of midnight tonight. As I mentioned earlier, masks will not be required while outdoors. Outdoor gatherings increase to up to 50 people. Private gatherings increase to 15 people per day. So that's not 15 people for lunch and then 15 people for dinner. It's 15 people across the entire day. Hospitality indoors increases to 150 people for large venues and 50 people for smaller venues with 1 person per 2 square metres. Outdoors, it'll be 300 patrons regardless of the venue size, but subject to social distancing. Religious gatherings increase in size to 150 people indoors or 300 outdoors. Weddings and funerals will both increase to 150 guests or mourners. 150 people will be allowed at gyms in groups of 20. Cultural facilities like the National Gallery of Victoria will increase to 25% of capacity, and large public events will be allowed subject to approval and in very limited circumstances. That's what's changing as of midnight tonight. Then on the 30th of November, we'll start to see an end to the work from home rule in Victoria. On the 30th of November, there'll be a staged return to offices for office workers. 25% of the workforce will be allowed to return to those high-rise office towers or smaller office blocks in suburban Melbourne. That does not include the public service. They will be the last to return to work under these rules. And the Premier's also foreshadowed some of the rules that'll change in time for Christmas. So from midnight on December 13, effectively from the 14th of December, you'll be allowed to have 30 visitors at your home per day across the day, not separately for lunch and dinner. So that's paving the way for some much desired Christmas barbecues in time for the holiday season. And the next step will be announced on the 6th of December, so in 2 weeks. This increase in private gatherings will be just one aspect of that. Now today, Gab, 23 days of no new cases in Victoria. We're just 5 days away from hitting that benchmark of 28 days with no community transmission, a sign that the virus has essentially been eliminated in the state. Take a look.
Yeah, look, I think it's important to see this very much as a series of rule changes today that are all about setting us up for a COVID-safe summer. It's very difficult to know what the rules will look like in March or April next year. We may have a vaccine by then. It's very, very difficult to know. So it's about breaking this down into smaller blocks, if you like.
So elimination may or may not be the right word. I think we're talking about no community transmission. I'm pretty confident we're there now. We haven't gotten to that epidemiological threshold of 28 days yet. I'm pretty confident we're going to get to that 28 days.
So, Gab, as I mentioned, the next step out of lockdown, perhaps the final step, will be announced on the 6th of December. The Premier saying that that will be the last change before Christmas.